Good morning. I am so glad to be with you. I'm Judy Herman, and I'm a professional licensed counselor and mental health service provider in Chattanooga, Tennessee. My office is on Main Street, so I'm glad to meet with you. Would love to see you in person, but I realize that you're a half hour away, I guess, and also I'm busy, so your wonderful professor, Dr. D'Souza, just asked me to do this video, so here I am, and I hope that this is helpful as I talk about when personal crisis hits. That's what I had talked about last year and wanted to share with you how to survive and thrive beyond trauma in the midst of helping others. Now, I have learned that this is a small class, 7 or so, right? And also that some of you are studying school counseling, and some of you are studying to be either in private practice, LPCs, or in community mental health. So if I'm correct on that, I hope that's the case. But regardless, I think that this presentation will be helpful. No matter what area of counseling that you go in, because we are in a people helping profession, and it's very important to know about crisis issues and then also how to take care of ourselves. I wanted to share with you that you can reach me by Judy at judycounselor.com. You can email me, which I would absolutely love to hear from you. And if you would go to my website, judycounselor.com, you can see the updated website and click on relationship beyond messy relationships. That's a tab that I have. You can click on that and find out more, and you can sign up and be on my email list, which I would absolutely love to stay connected with you because, well, anyway, let me just go one at a time here. And sorry if I feel nervous because there's nobody on the other side of this video. I hope that this is making sense. What I do, this is a second career for me, and I am this career as a counselor and going into counseling is part of my journey. You'll read all about it in my book that's coming out with Morgan James Publishing, and that's going to be in 2019. I will have an audio version of it, but it's called Beyond Messy Relationships, Divine Invitations for Your Authentic Self. So this is my story, this is my memoir, but it also has, every chapter has a counseling piece or my therapy voice and how my story weaves in to the things that I've learned. And I do have a lot of themes, a lot of sub-themes, and much of it is dealing with crisis, how to thrive and grow beyond it. So I would highly recommend it. Actually, an idea that I have after this gets off the ground, I would love to have it even as a text for future, future classes. Wouldn't that be cool? But anyway, my name's Judy Herman, and I help leaders and families create connection beyond conflict. And I've had to do my own work, as we all do as therapists. And we are in a profession that allows that. It is such a beautiful thing to be in this profession as a counselor. I need to back up. My first career was raising 4 remarkable human beings in a very troubled marriage that ended after 28 years. So that's where all my energy was in trying to make my marriage work. It takes 2 to be married, number 1. And then so thus I focus on relationships. That's my further training with imago therapy and also with Gottman. But I do have some background in training and obviously personal experience with dealing with crisis. So let me go through some of that, where just basics. And if you want to know more, oh my gosh, please sign up for my email list and I can tell you more, we can connect. I am so drawn now to creating a Facebook group just for therapists, and a closed or a secret Facebook group, not to share personal things, but just to be support. So perhaps you might be interested in that in the future. But my crisis work is, I did some volunteering through our Crisis Pregnancy Center, and I started that way back when I was still having babies, and Also, I did abortion recovery counseling, which also is part of my healing as well. I have also been involved with youth villages. Some of you may or may not be familiar with youth villages. It's a nonprofit here in Chattanooga and then other places as well across the Tennessee, maybe other states, I'm not quite sure. But I was a crisis responder and was trained and did that for about a year, which is about all I could take because crisis work for me was pretty intense, and some people are more cut out for it, but I'm more cut out for private practice. You might be cut out more for focused crisis work, and if that's the case, you'll learn a lot. Then I was also CISM training, that's critical incident stress management, and something I didn't acknowledge before, but I was also a mandatory goodness, what was the name of it, agent. I'd gotten like where I would, when I was working for youth villages and had the qualifications with which to determine whether a person was in danger to themselves or others, and to have like it's called a CON, a certificate of need, and make sure that they get to the hospital so that they are safe. So that's another certification that I had gotten as well. So yeah, my objectives when I came last year was to understand the effects of personal and work crisis, disasters, and other trauma-causing effects, not just, on counselors. How does that affect us personally? Secondly, to demonstrate ability to apply coping strategies to reduce the risk for compassion fatigue, vicarious traumatization, and other adverse impacts on mental health counselors who work as crisis responders. That sounds like a standard, maybe, right? So what we need to be aware of here is my objectives today in this video. Number one, prepare for the journey. Make sure you are ready. And there's times where you might not be ready, but you can prepare as much as you possibly can. Okay, and through this, obviously through your education, through your certifications, licensures, through being with others and continuing your journey. And of course, we all need CEUs, right? But we need to prepare as much as we can and continue growing in this profession. Secondly, just prepare to be authentic and real. It's really hard when you're going through your own stuff. And that's a lot what I talk about in my book is, how can I hold it together for this other person who's coming in and she has anxiety, and boy, do I ever have some anxiety because of what's going on in my personal life. How to take a deep breath and how to be authentic yet be there and stay in the present moment. By the way, my book, I probably am going to talk about this book as if I just had a baby, because it's almost like that. I've had 4 children, and then launching this book is like launching a baby out into the world. So forgive me if I talk about it too much. I'm rather obsessed about it. But number 3, prepare to see crisis situations as divine appointments. And going back to my book, my hook story is about that. How I'm falling apart as a wife, and I have to have this persona as a counselor. So you'll read more about that, and let me know if you'd like to be an early reader, actually, because I need some proofreaders. My line editor will be getting that back to me. She's will have made my voice sound even more authentic, and also tighten up grammar and make sure she's got spelling and all that. But I'm going to need like several eyes of proofreaders on my manuscript. So if you want to proofread, please let me know and we will connect, okay? But let me know, Judy at judycounselor.com. And you might have too many studies to do that, and I get that. So if I were here with you in the classroom, I would just ask you what your name is and what you hope to get from our time together, but can't do that. But anyway, please let me know about this presentation and how it might have affected you or what you got out of it, what was helpful. I would that would be wonderful. Self-care is never, ever, ever, ever a selfish act. Don't let anybody fool you otherwise. And we might have gotten those messages from years, and you might believe that as gospel truth, that, oh, if I do this, I'm being selfish. But you need to take care of yourself. It's so important. And it's simply good stewardship of the only gift that you have to give to the world, right? This is the gift that you were put on earth to others. And to me, that's a very important thing. We need to make sure that we ourselves, because we're going to probably be the last ones to know if we're people helpers. We're going to, and depending on what our personalities are, we're going to not even recognize our needs like we need to. We're not going to recognize our needs like we recognize the needs of others. Okay, we give and give and give. But we need to make sure that we are feeding our souls, whether that's a spiritual retreat, sitting in silence, just through prayer, scripture reading, yes. But we need to get beyond our heady knowledge and into our hearts and into our full bodies and be very aware. So yes, what I wanted to share, this is kind of, there's a whole lot in my book. And what I wanted to share was that, yes, I said that this is my second profession. And so no matter where you are in your life, it's kind of like you have a lot of feelings that are the same, right, as when we were younger. So I was attracted to my dance partner because I got involved in ballroom dancing after my divorce and didn't want to have a romantic relationship. But to make a long story short, I did marry my dance partner, and he is a remarkable man. But after 4.5 years, and I knew he had bipolar disorder. We talked about it, and I had never seen his episodes up front and close because it had been like 13 years since he'd had an episode. He took really good care of himself. So 4.5 years into our marriage, then this episode happens that caught me totally unaware and lasted for 6 weeks. And he was in a psychotic state and said that he was never married to me. And there were a bunch of other things which I described in the book. So my journey through that and all of the things, and trying to have these, great relationships with my 4 grown children and all of that and grandchildren. So there's a whole lot more, which I would love to tell you about. We did survive. That was in 2014 and then had a period of wellness. But when I came to your class last year, Dr. D'Souza asked me to speak. And as I was telling my story, it was still pretty fresh. And you know what? I can't even remember. Was that January? No, it couldn't have been, of 2017. It must have been March. It was pretty close from my having experienced a second episode, again, that caught me unaware, which I thought we were more prepared for. So again, all this is in the book, and actually the reason I wrote this book, it is part of my therapy. And it was very life-giving for me to put it together. So there's more of the story in my book, which I'd love for you to sign up. And hope this doesn't sound like a sales pitch. I don't want it to sound like that. But I'm really believing, after having written this book, and it's going to be out in the world, that really every therapist, anybody who has clients who is entrusted with other people's issues, really needs this level of self-awareness. And so if you can write your story even now, if it's an essay, that's fine. If it's just in your private journal, yes, do it. Because writing, there's something that happens when you write and you take these thoughts, and all of us have them, right? All of us have times of unfinished business from childhood, or maybe there's some emotional trauma, or maybe there's physical trauma, something that we may have totally either minimized or forgotten about. But when we bring it up to our level of consciousness, our level of awareness, then we can recognize that, rather than a client that's across from us and they all of a sudden trigger us and you wonder, whoa, what was that all about? And there might be this transference going on, right? So when you write your story, you can kind of weed through a lot of that. So I don't know what direction I might take in my counseling. I am in the office just 3 days a week, and I treated my writing as if it were a full-time profession, and gotten some great writing coaching and a great publisher and all of that. And that may not be your direction, and that's fine. But at this stage in my life, that's where I'm at. But I am still seeing clients, and I see clients, couples, basically. I do see individuals, but about 75% is couples. And I'm in the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, but here's another thing I just want you to know. This is about being authentic, and knowing your story, and really being aware, being prepared, learning all you can from this class, right? And all you can, getting beyond this, oh, I have to do it, to, oh, I get to do this. This is really cool. I may not know how it works later, but having this attitude of learning that is very like, oh, I get to do this. It might really ring a bell later on in your life. But 3 things. Number 1 that I really want you to walk away with is isolation isn't the enemy of our souls. So as counselors, even as human beings, as people, we need relationships. And that's what I do. I love relationships. I'm trying to figure mine out. And I help other people in their relationships. But if you get into private practice, or even group practice, or school counseling, you will be the counselor, right? And people may kind of, not want to even be close to you because they think you're going to do therapy on them or something as a friend. But make sure that you are not isolated. Make sure you are with a tribe of people, that you continue growing. That's very, very important, because isolation is a huge enemy. And then this, number 2, this profession requires continual learning. Continual, not just continual learning, another lecture or whatever, but no, energetic learning. So be choosy about your CEUs, after you graduate, and the topics that you want to niche in. I really believe it's important to niche as a counselor. But what does stir your soul? What is interesting to you? Being really well aware of that. And then 3, connection with each other as therapists fuels connection with our clients. So it's very important to know all of these things. All right, attitudes you can have. Just consider each person a divine appointment. Allow clients to stretch you. Don't just write them off and, some will train you, and others will energize you. Know which ones those are. And just, again, going back to the self-care idea, make sure you know yourself well enough and get the help that you need. Make sure your soul is filled, your body and your spirit and your mind is continually being renewed. Be aware of your energy. And more than anything, what I want to leave you with is that you are worthy and the world needs you. So I am so glad to connect. I hope that this is helpful. Okay, let me know. And sorry that we couldn't be together personally, but do email me, judy@judycounselor.com, and look at my website. I've got blog posts. And if any of you know of anybody who is really good at social media, that could help me out, or intern, that would be awesome. As far as counseling interns, I may be ready for that later. And so I'm kind of just reevaluating where my next step is as far as launching this book and who my target people will be. I'd love to speak at your school, the student body, and because I think this is a message, especially for counseling programs. that people need to know about. All right, so I'm so glad to meet with you, and thank you so much. All right, look forward to further connection. All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.